this follow-up. Remember, we put out a video. This is someone else's channel. You saw that the Valley of Giants. You see that video posted? Okay. Rabbi Dorfman has a large roster of people he's been interviewing. A lot of interesting discussions there. So I actually spoke with him twice already. So it was pretty good and pretty productive. So I wanted to show as a point that I was listening to what Rabbi Barchim said. The argument was made that Mikdash attendance, going to the Har HaBayis now, or even trying to build the Beis HaMikdash, is a danger. Okay? It's gonna cause a danger and should be avoided. Why? Because we are being threatened. If you do this, they're going to do something to you. But the problem is, I said, of course, no one has proven such a danger. I don't know of any entity that's sitting there saying, right now everything's fine, but if you Jew go to Har HaBayis, or a bunch of Jews, we're going to go really let you have it. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite. What's going on now? Like Rabbi Barchim said just last week at your place, what did he say? They don't need an excuse to do this, They do what they do. But no one's, even if there were such a danger, which there isn't, the story of Ezra and Nehemiah that the rabbi was discussing shows that that's the exact opposite. In Ezra and Nehemiah's time, they were first, well, even before Ezra and Zerubbabel's time, what were they doing? There were actual enemies who were there to stop the building of the Beis HaMikdash and the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, like make it into a city again. They wanted to stop both. And they were using the threat of physical violence to do so. But what do we learn from those two books? Well, really it's one book, two books, the Treyasar, because it's in Sefer Chagagai. What's the answer? Even if they're threatening you, even if there's an actual threat on the ground, you see, Geshem Ha'arvi and Tobias and the rest of them are actually there saying, we are going to do whatever power to hurt you, to stop you from rebuilding the temple and rebuilding the city and rebuilding the walls. You do not listen to them because God wants you to do that. This type of argument could have been easily brushed aside if we just were opening up the Tanakh. But unfortunately, we don't study Tanakh, and we don't also look to the Tanakh for these arguments. And also as a rejoinder to Rabbi Kelner. What happened to Rabbi Kelner? Rabbi Kelner is a prominent Merkaznik rabbi who a few months ago was arguing against people like Rabbi Wolfson and Rabbi Alaluf, who are gung-ho about going to Har HaBayis and gung-ho building the Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Kelner has his own theory about how the time is not ripe, and he's trying to argue with these philosophical arguments and historical arguments, the time is not ripe. I don't think it's time yet, because we first have to something make the nation ready. It's just not right. And Rav Kook, the problem with what Rabbi Kelner is saying is that it's Divrei Nevius, which means he has no source for what he's saying. He's saying it's not right, but maybe it is. How do you know? By Divrei Nevius, we say that it's not pejorative, but saying you have to be a Navi to say that type of thing. He has extra supernatural knowledge, apparently. That's not right. That's what he says. He's trying to convince everybody. So Rabbi Wolfson aptly refuted all his arguments, as did Rabbi Elaluf and others. But ironically, his Divrei Nevius argument goes against the actual words of the Navi, which is what? Chagagai, which is, yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to have your own cheshbonis. Well, the situation's like this, or we have a spiritual threat, we're not ready, the Goyim are threatening us. You have a mitzvah, you have to do it, that's it. There's a Jewish national leadership. Part of their responsibilities is rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash. So, there you go.
I always found that argument strange, because by their line of reasoning, then what would happen is, if the time wasn't right, then you just wouldn't succeed. Doesn't mean you can't, you're supposed to try.
Yes, if God will, you have to do your job. Basically, with regards to anything. That's basically what the Medrash says was the argument against Chizkiyahu Melech's considerations. He did not want to have children. Why? He had foreknowledge that his descendant, that his successor, would be the worst thing. So Yeshua Navi come and told him, doesn't matter. That's not your job. Your job is to reproduce and produce an heir, and that's God's business. What's going to happen once you're dead? You can't get involved in these things.